Welcome.
Hello. This is Talking with Ty, except Ty's not here, so
it's just us hosting our first and probably ever last podcast on here. So I'm one of the hosts, Ellie Fahey.
And I'm Kelby Larchek.
Yep. Without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Jump right in.
Yep.
Okay, so the other day, I decided that I was going to start becoming more physically active. So I was walking in this trail in the woods, and I came up, and this large wildcat was standing on the curve of this trail around the corner from me. And I got really scared, but then I got thinking, wait, K-State's the Wildcats. So then I researched about the wildcat just because I was interested. I didn't know they were native to Kansas. And, there's some kerfuffle around us. And I found out that the first ever wildcat for K-State was real, and its name was Touchdown. And Touchdown was actually family. It was Touchdown the first, the second, the third, the fourth. And it turns out that the Touchdown lineage was ended because it got shot and killed on that same exact trail that I was on about 10 years before.
So that story is actually not true at all. But now that we have your attention, we are going to get into our project that we spent a lot of time doing. We had some bad communication skills, but eventually we got our most prominent piece of evidence, which we secured an interview with Stan Weber.
Woo! Go Stan!
And Stan he's an incredible person. He was great. He was really fun to interview.
He answered our questions very well. He was very well-spoken, and he didn't talk to us as if, we were less. He talked to us on, our level, which...
I think he talked to us like we were more than high school students.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It was definitely a good, eye-opening experience. So, I do believe that was our most prominent, definitely first-hand evidence that we got. Our sources did help. Going to the K-State Library Archives helped. I used to be a worker of Miss Haley, who kind of was the one that came and presented to us. She used to be my manager at my job, so it was really easy to get in contact with them and find a time that worked for both of us. So the archives were nice. They were great there. But Kelby, do you want to explain a little bit about Stan Weber?
Yeah, so Stan Weber, he was the quarterback for the K-State Wildcats from about 79 to 83. And he majored in accounting, actually. And then once he graduated, he moved to Kansas City and was working in broadcasting and finance/accounting at the same time. And then in about 88, he got a call from K-State asking if he would come and call the football games for them on the weekends. And so ever since then, the rest is kind of history. He's called every single one of our home K-State football games and away. He's called all of our basketball games. He told us his best memory was going with the K-State basketball team recently when they made it to the Elite Eight, playing in Madison Square Garden. He said that was a really awesome opportunity. But yeah, he was just a really great person in K-State's history to interview, I would also add. Yeah,
he was definitely just a well-rounded person to talk to, and I think he honestly taught us more than just about the history of K-State.
Yeah.
So I think one of the most important things that he told us was we approached him with the thesis, the development of college sports mascots or logos, including the KSU Wildcats, and how they've been impacted by social movements, which has led to constant evolution of college mascots or logos changing. And I think originally going into this project, when I was coming up with our thesis, kind of was thinking about the Indians, the Manhattan Indians, how that can be kind of like, maybe perceived as racist or perceived
controversial,
as,
definitely.
Yeah, like a controversial thing. And I think what I really wanted to do was talk about that. And if K-State has ever been in some circumstances where they might have been seen as controversial. And going into this interview with Stan, he, at the end, he kind of approached us with the idea of to not look for facts.
Not to look for opinions, but to look for facts.
Yes. And it was very influential because he kind of didn't second-handedly tell us to change what we were talking about, but he kind of said that we shouldn't just go in looking for problems to solve, and we should go in looking for more of like advice or just and other things to talk about that aren't problems that we need to solve.
Yeah, and one thing he specifically talked about was that mascots are very directly correlated with sports. I think we all know this. And he just talked about how the core of a university is centered around their sports, and the mascot's the identity of that sports team. And he just kind of talked about the importance of these mascots aren't meant to divide people. They aren't meant to make people feel separated or different. They're meant to bring together groups of people around one centered activity, such as sports and such as the university you attend.
Yeah. Going along with that, one of the questions that we had asked him was, like, do you know of any knowledge about K-State, like, changing their logo or rebranding, just because he was in his prime at K-State kind of during that time. And he did, actually. He, like, first-handedly knew exactly what happened, and he was able to give us this story on it. Yeah. Do you want to play a clip of...
Yeah, sure. So this is a direct clip from him talking about his football season with Bill Snyder and just broadcasting for them.
Biggest football programs in the history of college football. They hadn't had much success and tons of losses. So Bill Snyder came here, and when he got here in 1989, we had not won a game in 87 or 88. We had one tie in there, but no wins. So he came in, and K-State was at a low point, and he said, here's the new logo for the football team. It wasn't called the Power Cat at that time, but now you know it as the Power Cat. Yeah. It's on the side of the football helmets of the K-State football team. And so he brought that in as a logo, something new. K-State had many different ways of expressing themselves that even you see now becoming popular again today, to show you all of them. But the Power Cat came in as the main one in 1989 with Bill Snyder. He had he commissioned it to be developed. He studied it along with the equipment staff at K-State football, and he said, this is the version we want to use, and he introduced it in the 1989 season. So it was all brand new to K-State. And I told someone who was very successful at K-State, they're like, I'm not sure I know about this, what I think of this new type of logo. Right. And I said, well, it may not be something that's natural for you to decide on right now or opine on and decide if you like, but one of my greatest predictions ever was, I said, if we win in football, this will be an engineering department letterhead. If you win in football, it affects everybody, and everyone will adopt this logo as K-State's logo if we win in football. Yeah. And who would have known if we were going to win? We won only one game in Bill Snyder's first year in 1989, but it was one of my great predictions that this logo, whatever you thought of it or however new or funky you thought it was in its design and concept, if we win, it will change everything, because that's how big a deal sports are, and especially football.
So I think that's just such a powerful, quote by him. And it, as we talked about with like sports and mascots, like everyone will adopt it if the sports team is good and has success.
Yeah, and I think, on Bill Snyder's behalf, he was probably feeling super nervous and anxious about bringing this new logo to K-State, thinking, what are people going to think of this? What if this just turns around and shuts down and does horrible? And then, K-State might, turn to crap and everyone would not, look into K-State at all, but that's not what happened. So,
and the point of rebranding is to kind of put on like a new face for either your brand or your college, and that was kind of what he was trying to do here. Was, like he said, they had they were really bad. They were really bad at football, but they're rebranding this to try and get a new look to the college, the sports teams, and everything around that. And that's the point of rebranding, to make something look new and kind of give like a new opportunity, a fresh start for colleges and brands.
And now we're gonna go to our first commercial break.
Welcome back. So on to the same theme of why colleges rebrand. I think also nowadays there's so many colleges that have the same mascots. There's so many color schemes that are the same between college. So it's really hard to keep your college, your name at the top of the list, and to keep your face fresh and new, because you're always trying to be the next best thing, because that's what people are always looking at. What can I jump onto next? Which trend can I jump onto next? And not that, colleges are trends at all, but I think that's another big reason why colleges are rebranding a lot, to try and keep their name at the top of the list, to try and stay prominent in that college decision for many high schoolers, because it's just a giant money-making scheme as well.
Yeah, and back to the interview about Stan. We had asked him, about NIL deals. That was a question that I can't tell if it really threw him off or he was just
uncomfortable, ready for it to end.
ready for the 30-minute interview to end.
We weren't really sure.
No, but he was great. And it's currently starting to rain on us during our podcast, so we might have to take a brief intermission and go continue this in the car.
We're going to go shotgun with these kids over here.
We're currently sitting in City Park, and there's a darty going on right outside of us.
We really want to join, but we decided that Hildebrand would say no.
Hildebrand would say no. Hildebrand would say no. Hildebrand would say no. We're going to go to commercial break.
It's really raining.
It's raining on us. Welcome back. Thank you for the brief intermission. We just got stumped with some little raindrops from the clouds, so we're currently sitting in my car filming the rest of this podcast for you.
You're welcome.
The things we do.
God, I love this class.
Alright, so no noises, no loud screaming, no darties, just me and Kelby talking about the history of the Kansas State Wildcats. Emaw. So in our research, we dove into why colleges rebrand, why they go through that, and it's typically about every 5 to 10 years on average. It kind of depends on where your school's at and how everything's going, but they will typically do this, and they think of the faculty, the students, the alumni, and kind of just what will benefit everybody at the school.
Yeah, and I think it's important, and they also keep in mind whenever rebranding, that not everyone is going to like the logo or the new mascot at first, and that's okay, that, change is good sometimes, and of course, in the Kansas State aspect, change was really good, because we went from not winning a single game in 2 seasons to then going on to win the Big 12. So, obviously, these rebranding, we didn't win those games because of rebranding, but the face of Kansas State was more prominent and more out there because of our rebranding and because we had success with rebranding.
Yeah, and that's just relating the marketing aspect, the financial aspect, like I said, doing it for everybody at a specific college or even a specific brand, like a company. They will rebrand kind of for the same reason as colleges, not typically. They're more focused on a target audience, while colleges are as well, but it's not in the same relation to colleges and companies, but I'm pausing it. Okay, and now we're gonna begin to wrap things up. And by the way, for the random music we keep playing, it's a song called, well, I guess the name doesn't matter, but it's by a girl named Flo Millie, and Millie is the new bobcat at the zoo that we attempted to go up there to see for our project, but we did not want to pay $20 to see Millie the bobcat.
And take one picture.
So we opted out of that opportunity, but...
And instead we're getting this professionally produced.
Yes, by Hair Tie Studios. Okay, back to the podcast, for real this time.
Before we go party.
At the party.
At the party.
Alright. Oh, just jokes, Hildebrand. Okay, so with our conclusion, kind of wrapping things up.
So we went into this thinking that we were going to talk about how social movements impacted mascots and just kind of like how they led to the evolution of college mascots. But, after our research and our chit-chatting with Stan Weber, we kind of realized that rebranding is not about social movements, but it's about creating a fresh new face for something to keep them at the front of the market, whether that be brands or whether that be colleges. And in our interview with Stan, he very clearly talked about that and how this mascot really brought together the university, and how the sports at the university really were centered around this new Wildcat, and how our success in football was also catapulted by our new rebranding. And that can be thanks to many people, but specifically Bill Snyder, might we add, because he did lead to the success of our fresh new mascot and our fresh new football team.
Yeah, so, I mean, looking back on the research and everything we did for this project, I think Stan's advice kind of made this project a little bit more than just about rebranding.
Yeah,
it was kind of a life lesson, honestly.
It was.
And, I mean, I really hope we're getting the idea across to you is that, we don't need to look for problems. And, I mean, I think that can be taken a lot of different ways than just what our project is about.
Yes. And I think as high school students, specifically high school girls, we experience the drama. We experience, people talking all the time. We experience, oh, this girl's wearing the freshest, newest shorts or shoes or sweatshirt. And, I think this kind of made us realize and take a step back, and specifically with his quote, look for facts, not opinions, that, it's important to not freak out about a situation because you might not know everything. People might be trying to start something. Just because someone doesn't like one thing doesn't mean you have to stop doing it or it needs to be done. Because you never know what'll take foot. You never know what'll, blow up as being successful. And it's just important to remember that. And that not everyone is going to like new, or not everyone is going to like change. But that it's important for the success of a college.
Yeah. All right, and with that, we're gonna hit a little outro. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And most importantly, frickin' ma.
Ma, baby.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away.
Oh, we're driving past the Darty right now, Hildebrand. This is real life evidence of what K-State does for the community.
We're seeing community based around the mascot
of Kansas State
the freaking
University. Woo! Okay, thank you for your time. If you listen to this whole thing,
tell us
the phrase.
Wait, go ahead.
Tell us the phrase.
Ema rare
in class. Or send an email if it's during the summer, because I don't know when you're going to get around to listening to this. But without further ado,
this is where it happens.
Thank you for your time. And
until tomorrow.
Until we see you back in class. Or not. Hit it.
No one will love you as you are. I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us.
Alright, catch you on the flip.